American cities remain divided and unequal, with some neighborhoods cutting themselves off from difference, particularly when it comes to race and social class. Some communities do this by building walls and gates, some by aggressively policing those who look like they don't belong. Others, including some enclaves of affluence in New York City, do it more subtly, perhaps without intent. The real estate gets so expensive that only the wealthy can afford to live there. Shops and restaurants go upscale, attracting a certain clientele. The neighborhood becomes homogeneous and insular, not open and diverse. The social environment grows less hospitable. The architecture becomes forbidding and severe. The Seward Park Library, a stately red brick and limestone Italian Renaissance building, the nation's first municipal playground, Seward Park, might look elite and exclusive. It's a gorgeous structure, built from the opulence of a previous Gilded Age. But the library, which sits at the point of convergence for Chinatown, a mass of public housing projects, and a rapidly developing urban glamour zone for young professionals, has long been the heart of the Lower East Side community. Its doors are open to everyone, and everyone comes. For the past 170 years, the Lower East Side has been a popular neighborhood for poor immigrants, in part because its location, on low-lying land near the river, made it unattractive for those who could afford a nicer setting. But mostly because, to this day, it has thousands of apartment buildings where enormous numbers of people squeeze into units that look a lot like the tenements that zoning codes no longer allow. In the mid-19th century, Irish immigrants rushed into the area, pioneers whom the established New Yorkers blamed for turning a prosperous neighborhood into an ethnic slum. Then came the Germans, followed by Eastern European Jews, who stayed in the neighborhood for much of the 20th century. A few thousand older Jews, as well as a handful of small synagogues, remain there today. But today's Lower East Side is primarily Puerto Rican and Chinese, and, with a 31% child poverty rate, is disproportionately poor. In the past decade, the area for blue-collar union workers now sell for more than $1 million. Across the street, the former headquarters for The Forward, the leading newspaper for American Jews, was recently converted into a luxury condo building. Down the block, there's Mission Chinese Food, the Manhattan outpost of the San Francisco culinary sensation, whose chef won a Rising Star Award from the James Beard Foundation, an upscale cocktail bar, and, of course, the juice bar. But for now, the neighborhood remains an immigrant enclave, and the landmark library, one of the original 65 libraries in New York City funded by Andrew Carnegie's $5.2 million donation in 1901, serves its aspiring residents in more or less the same ways that it has since opening in 1909. About 1,400 books and a handful of DVDs each day. And attracts more than 20,000 people into its programs, making it one of the busiest branches in the system. I first visited the Seward Park Library on a gray January morning. I took the F train from West 4th Street to East Broadway, the last stop in Manhattan. Walked past a small encampment where a homeless man was getting himself together, and went up the stairway to Rutgers. The first thing I noticed was the long string of high-rise red brick public housing projects clustered around the FDR Drive near the East River. A few years before, I toured those buildings with the rebuild by design competitors to observe flood damage from Sandy. They'd been inundated with seawater. The first floors were uninhabitable. The elevators were malfunctioning. The power, phone, and cable lines in the basement were a tangled, corroded mess. The common areas outside were ugly and neglected, with cracked asphalt, uncomfortable benches, and small patches of unkempt grass. At the time, I hadn't thought much about where the thousands of people who lived in these buildings could go to escape the dreary environment. Visiting the library, it became clear. When I entered the gates to Seward Park, I immediately saw a group of 20 old people, mainly women, all Chinese, dancing for exercise despite the winter weather. A few preschool children were swinging. Small groups of old men walked in circles around the path. The homeless man was asleep near the public restrooms, which were locked down and closed until spring. The library itself is at the northeast corner, and there's a large public space with long stone benches in front of the entrance. I arrived there a few minutes before 10 a.m. when the library opens, and found 14 people scattered around the area, some hovering by the door or on the short stone staircase leading up to it, others standing on the asphalt below. You can look opposite alcohol has stayed in my homes without my permission. That stole my vehicles. That has got in the way of me receiving money. That gets in the way of me receiving money. Mr. Kleinenberg may have been trafficked into my home by I just got a text that I have a medical bill that I can't afford to pay. Whose fault is that? By these leeches, just so that I don't, they're trying to not go to jail. By abusing people and trafficking people for like more than 30 decades. It's like pouring shit over shit to cover up more shit. With shit, with more shit, more shit, with more shit to cover up more shit, with more shit. That is at least decades ago. What they do is so gross. There's no such thing as first dibs of my vagina. Ew. They can't retaliate legally against me for not having had sex with them. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. So this is why I don't go on in 2020 to speak privately to these leeches. Porque they could have had group chats where they're like, well, this guy also stayed in your home without your permission. Sometimes they look for people that are sociologists that specialize in a topic that will make them look bad for staying in the home of someone that stands up for human rights, for people having homes. And the irony of it all is Arlene can't stay in her own home and is homeless. So I don't look at the details of if Mr. Kleinenberg stayed in my homes without my permission, just like Zach Posen may have been trafficked there because these leeches want to laugh at me that Mr. Posen got a really good paying job at Gap that possibly isn't even enough based on his cost of living. And I was only getting paid $13 an hour working as a sales associate, which I enjoy. It's just as fun as designing. However, they may have mocked me privately with those Jaden Bisepo, Jess Lorenzo, Isabela Sanchez, 1995 email addresses that I don't get paid enough for me to sustain myself while living at Gap, working at Gap, I mean. Pero porque no me lo dicen públicamente en la cara from their personal accounts if they have one, because they know that they would go to jail for such gross behavior. They think that by making a fake account, it's not insulting. It's so gross. It makes their penis look so dirty when they do that. Ew, 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 ew. Qué gente tan puerca. In the meantime, Eric Kleinenberg isn't a person of interest to me, neither is who is this book by. Dylan Howard and Dominic Newton, because they could have been trafficked specifically and raped in my home by these individuals trying
to get me to shut up about the abuse towards me. I have a GoFundMe campaign to get filled up for myself dating in Kaylani. I don't do childish behavior like these leeches do. What else? What else? What else? Unless one of these individuals, for example, or someone that has stayed in my homes without my permission outside of the people that these leeches already introduced to me decades ago, go on to invade my space or attack me, then like I would kill those people in self-defense. But I'm not a violent person. I'd rather be shopping at H&M later today. I want to stay in the Kimpton just for fun. I want to eat a Luna Rosa. What else? What else? What else? What else?
She also gave her coffee from the gourmet cafe across the street. She held 2 DVDs. There was an old
and I want money for food so I can drink coffee every day if I want
carrying
to.
a small book bag and talking
Into it like this
about
house.
Donald Trump. 2 heavy-set Latinas in their 30s or 40s rested against the rail on the stairway, arms folded, occasionally reaching for a phone. An old Chinese man in a gray hat and a tan overcoat sat on the cold bench. 2 college-age students with heavy backpacks stood alone, and 4 ragged-looking men, homeless or maybe coming from a shelter, clustered by the entrance. One kept checking the time. At 10 o'clock sharp, a librarian in an oversized suit.
I'm gonna kill Jennifer Maribas in self-defense tonight.
One beeline for the first floor bathroom, the only one that's officially open to all patrons. Even though there are 2 more in the basement and another for children only on the 2nd floor. One raced up the stairs and the others dropped their bags on the tables by the big front windows and began to browse through the new books. Most patrons gave it some leeway, trying to avoid the smell, and then everyone went to their spot. The couple returned to their DVDs, grabbed another from reserve, and left. The old woman in the kerchief went right to the desktop computers and started checking her email. The Chinese man.
The thriving colors, the kind of Michael's history.
Manager and newspapers.
That was fun.
The Latina. The lounge area, which is open until it becomes part of the designated teen space at 2 p.m. and immediately pulled out their phones. Once the first wave of patrons settled
In the
in,
meantime,
the library workers
he gets late today over someone saying, I told you she was strong. Mira qué desorganizada es. Los míos están así,
for French librarians, helping people find more that they're looking for is the essence of
My neighbors must love me. Do they watch me?
that exists today where you're
Or
really
read
just doing
me?
good things as a public servant.
What else? What else? What else? What
You're not
else?
screwing anyone over. You're not taking advantage of anybody. You're just offering a free service.
What else? I'm so bored.
Andrew grew up in Los Angeles. He has a twin brother, and often on weekends, a British immigrant who didn't drive would take them on long bus rides to either the main branch of the Los Angeles Public Library or the Beverly Hills Public Library. They were nowhere near where we lived, he recounted, but the buildings were so beautiful, and she wanted to expose us to that inspiring architecture. To this very day, I think about how different it was to visit a library as opposed to everywhere else. Being in them just felt that stuck with me to this very day. My father wasn't around much, and the library was a place where my mother could just relax, while my brother and I would look through books. The one book that I associate with our trips there most of all is No Fighting, No Biting. I think it's by Elsa Homeland-Menard, and it's illustrated by Marie Sendak. We must have checked that book out more than, oh God, I don't know, more than any other. There were 2 siblings involved in it. And my mother would just sort of drolly look at the 2 of us as she was reading about these bickering siblings. That will be with me forever. Andrew moved to New York City, where his brother lived, and applied for an entry-level job as an information specialist in the library system. It didn't pay well. The starting salary for librarians in the New York Public Library system is around $48,500, and pay for information specialists, who generally lack a graduate degree in library sciences, is considerably lower. But it was better than Starbucks, where he worked for a while, and it would put him on a career path that felt meaningful and full of purpose. When he started working, he quickly knew he made the right choice.
Roger and
There's something I realized once I got here, Andrew explained. At Starbucks, and in most businesses really, the assumption is that you, the customer, are better for having this thing that you purchase, right? At the library, the assumption is that you are better. You have it in you already. You just sort of need to be exposed to these things and provide yourself an education. The library assumes the best out of people. The services it provides are founded upon the assumption that if given the chance, people will improve themselves. And as I observed during my time in libraries, social interactions with librarians and with other patrons are one of the crucial ways that this self-improvement happens. Both children and adults benefit from the relationships they build in branch libraries. Children, Andrew said, are still growing and they're still absorbing things. Hopefully adults are doing that too, but a lot of adults who use the library aren't just people who are trying to improve themselves in terms of, say, intellectual capacity. They're trying to improve themselves because they need an environment that's not like every other environment they've ever known, that judges them, that takes advantage of them, that doesn't want anything to do with them, doesn't understand their role in society. They want to be in a place where they can feel this generous assumption of human nature.
They've been extremely abused and consider themselves lazy.
The library
Is one of prior hobbies that they feel good about.
Especially during lonely times.
Or two.
The library staff has more autonomy to develop new programming than I'd expected from an established public institution. Managers, it seems, assume the best of their librarians and their information specialists.
I mean, I can borrow a book and
The first
return
thing
it all the
Andrew
time.
introduced at Seward Park was tea time, which he held in the corner of the third floor reference and reading room. I noticed a lot of people come in early in the morning and
Resist
never
them
go to programs.
to become responsible.
They're just using the
It's free.
library as a resting place. And I thought, maybe because my parents are British, what's more relaxing than a
They
good
feel
cup of
satisfied. Smile the person.
tea? Tea time
Accepting
quickly
the book.
became one of the library's more
I
popular
love using the drop off bin.
programs, attracting a regular
I've
group of older
called
patrons and a steady stream of new
the library McDill
We're
in
happy
first
to get a free
place.
hot
One day as it was gonna rain. And it was overflowing. I'm like, it's about to rain and your books are gonna get wet. Oh, they had a drive-through book drop off. This one. To ask one of the kids to do it or do it myself. And this data is in line. What else? What else? I have opportunities with Build a Nest that I want to go to, so I'm asking if money through PayPal. In my PayPal account, or vete, mátate, luego de que my artwork you copied it and llevaste a otra Target so she could feature it there and see it. Mátate already is what I thought. I started creating artwork and my parents got them involved. I'm like, bitch, they're not my husbands. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't even have money for self-care. You don't even provide for me. So they're like walking in with leeches that would pretend to be me. And they're like, okay, so I take it to Target to see her work. Esa pena tiene lacra encima, whatever that is. Ew, una basura, gente. Una asquerosidad. They don't know how to say no to an invite from my parents. They can't just say no. There's a certain formality of how to kill Arlene. It's what they say. They're so dumb. Telenovela watchers that think that they're true. That was decades ago. You can decapitate me on mis horas sons that rape me, stolen my money, and get in the way of me receiving money. They just want to know how loud I can scream so that they masturbate to how intensely they can spank me in their dreams. They're so gross. I didn't think that it would come to this. Me having to talk about that. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. They're rapists, murderers, and thieves. I don't ever want them near me. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I miss Jaden. I miss Kehlani. I didn't give up Jaden. I didn't give up Kehlani. You can give me money in person through PayPal or through my campaign. What else? 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 I plan to hang this in my bedroom, possibly. I may get needles to stay. Oh, if I hit it with the back of my scissors, because I have a ton of needles, I may be able to hang it. Though I can wait. I can even check HEB. Don't they have like a hardware section? I haven't checked yet. If they have tax or in the education mall supplies, art supplies section. I want silver tax, maybe. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate everyone that has gotten in the way of me receiving money. That has stolen my money, that stays in my homes without my permission, that drives my vehicles without my permission. That's like, por una majita, I'll let you be Arlene. Ew. Decades ago. I don't want it near me ever. What else? 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 What else?
Drink and biscuits in the morning. It also became a reliable source of social activity. As they sat together sipping tea, participants also shared newspapers and then stories, until over time a small and unlikely community of Chinese, Turkish, Latino, Jewish, and African American patrons had formed. I like the way the program brings people together, Andrew explained, but that's not all. The other reason I like it is because tea time is one of the best ways the library can express faith in people. There's a term you don't hear these days, one you used to hear all the time when the Carnegie Ranch is opened. Palaces, the library really is a palace. It bestows nobility on people who can't otherwise afford a shred.
Yeah, I got rejected. Yeah, my mother didn't come through for someone else.
Have nobility and dignity in their lives. And they need other people to recognize it in them too. Serving tea doesn't seem like that big. The truth is, it's one of the most important things I do.
What else? Like this post. Schoolboard.
Chapter 2. Safe Spaces. The Pruitt-Igoe Housing Project, a complex of 33 11-story buildings that opened in North St. Louis between 1954 and 1956, is perhaps the most famous failure in the history of American public housing. The initial design, by the highly regarded architect Minoru Yamasaki, who went on to design the World Trade Center, called for a mixed-rise set of towers connected by walking paths and a river of trees. But the Public Housing Administration forced a revision to bring down costs. The housing agency standardized plans and floor for community activity.
Too much MTV, too little education. What else? They mistaken my parents' generosity for weeks ago.
And elevators and stairwells shared by all of the roughly
self-defense learning, you won't be near. That's what my dog is.
Residing in the tower. Families rushed into the new
For taking advantage of my generosity. Think it's weakness, so disrespectful, has ruined my vacation time.
apartments, which were in great demand. In 1957, more than 90% of all units were occupied.
That was decades ago. Oh, that's why I don't ever seek him. Like my dog's gonna kill him.
A few architecture critics initially praised the high modernist project
for being so ungrateful and so done towards me.
Spatial efficiency and abundance of green space.
Mientras yo no tenía carro ni dinero para comer, él tenía un brand new BMW thanks to me, metiendo cueros en su vehículo while raping me. And he thinks that I'm gonna have a relationship with him. Fuck, qué tipo tan puerco. Ew. And then that made me realize that wow, my mother's right. Las mujeres son las liches y los liches. Welcome to where las liches and los liches are. They don't exist, they don't live, they just are. There. Just there.
Families with children had grown fearful and began hunkering down in their private
Primero la lichka y yo me find Pico Piedra Aguada prostituyéndose ilegalmente. Is what people would say about those.
By 1971, about half the units in the complex had been shuttered, and the occupancy rate was 35%.
Apparently, they didn't even think that they're pretty. So they steamroll over me for being like giving compliments that they're so pretty. And other people want, yeah.
That's not surprising, since prevailing theories about the causes of crime have long focused on the characteristics of people who break the law. When criminologists examine the factors that lead to high levels of lawlessness, they typically consider background factors like a person's race, gender, income, family situation, and education level, or in some cases, their moral values and capacity for self-regulation.
My studies started me on purpose. They want me to be quiet about that. That they want to rape. We told you it wouldn't work with them. While hiding that I'm starving and that I don't money, as if I had done all of this for a man. Ew! My siblings use them to rape. Ew. I'm asco. What else? You can decapitate Evelyn Lorenzo Acevedo. You can decapitate Marilyn Lorenzo Acevedo. You can decapitate Gilbert Lorenzo Acevedo. You can decapitate Mariana Lorenzo. Que es una basura. I went on to lose my virginity for me. You can decapitate Jadiel Lorenzo Chaparro. That's una basura that went on to lose my virginity for me decades ago. You can decapitate Benjamin Suarez Lorenzo's sons that raped me, steal my money, get in the way of me receive money so I can't date. And then they... Ew. That's not having sex. They have people on their penis pretending to be me. Fuck. Ew. I'm so bored. I want a sandwich. I want chips and dark chocolate candles. I'm eating soon. You're not sooner. Daytime sleeping. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else?
For instance, kept their own apartments neat and well maintained, modestly furnished perhaps, but with great pride. Moreover, Newman visited the small balconies shared by two families and found them to be pockets that were clean, safe, and well tended. He wanted to know what accounted for the differences between the project's private and public spaces, and he began searching for answers. The well-kept apartments and semi-private landings offered Newman one clue. But what he observed in the housing project adjacent to Pruitt-Igoe taught him even more. Across the street from Pruitt-Igoe was an older, smaller row house complex, Carr Square Village, occupied by an identical population, he writes. It had remained fully occupied and trouble-free throughout the construction, occupancy, and decline of Pruitt-Igoe.
Satisfying.
Families felt safe and relatively comfortable, and with good reason. The crime level was many times lower than it was in Pruitt-Igoe. Newman was fascinated. With social variables constant in the two developments, he explains, the underlying reason that enabled one to survive while the other was destroyed had to involve physical differences, not the characteristics of the residents. Newman compared the physical features of the two projects, and the differences were stark. In Carr Square Village, each row house contained just a few families, all of whom could identify one another as neighbors, if not friends. They shared a compact entryway and a semi-private outdoor area, and it was relatively easy to establish standards for using and maintaining the space since only a few neighbors would be sharing it. In Pruitt-Igoe, however, the design and management of the buildings made it impossible for residents to regulate behavior in and around them. So many people shared the same public areas that no one person could manage or maintain them, and unlike high-rise buildings in middle-class areas, there were no doormen or resident superintendents who were paid to do that job. What's more, the population of the 33-building complex was so large that it was impossible to tell resident from intruder. For Newman, the lesson was straightforward. The dire situation at Pruitt-Igoe was not due to the characteristics of the people who lived there, but to the project's physical infrastructure.
I'm gonna kill me only my one on self-defense.
Play an important role in reducing crime and
What else? What else? What else? What else? What
in their
else?
housing environment.
That's why they invite us alcohol.
Residents
They invite one to a party, and like there's only alcohol here. This is so easy to kill them. Ew. What else? What else? What else?
Newman included an account of the physical factors that made Pruitt-Igoe so much more dangerous than Carr Square Village in his 1972
That's what happens when we just steal one's money.
That same year,
One thinks,
the
oh,
government
I'm
began
not
to
gonna
demolish
kill
the
them.
Pruitt-Igoe
Or
complex,
even on my
a
radar
process that would go on until
steal from me
1976.
and stay in my homes without my permission, and you drive my vehicles without my permission.
Considerable influence among planners
Ew.
and criminologists.
Also, grab me out of
Shaped the design of new housing
and I
projects
don't want
throughout
it.
the world.
That could make me feel
Newman
flustered.
even became a character in the 2015
Be a sharpshooter.
series, Show Me a Hero.
That doesn't miss killing
Subsequent
you.
research has questioned whether all of Newman's findings are
You
generalizable.
can decapitate the only
In some cities we know, or
you can
neighborhoods with
decapitate.
high-rise public
They
housing
have me
are
excited for
safer
this
than poor
sons that
neighborhoods
rape me,
without it.
stolen my
And
money,
Newman
and
failed to
never
identify
see
which
money.
conditions make some projects more successful than others.
What else? What else?
He was wrong to conclude that in the case of crime and housing, the apartment tower itself is the real and final villain. But Newman's main point, that the building built environment helps determine local crime levels is widely accepted.
Am I ready for sandwich already?
Some of that evidence comes from the school of crime prevention that emerged around the same time as Newman's defensible space theory. Crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED, begins
you
with
can give me money in person through PayPal, through GoFundMe. .com/Arlene-Lorenzo.
There are no criminals, only environmental circumstances which result in criminal behavior. Given the proper environmental structure, anyone will be a criminal or a non-criminal. It follows then that crime control measures are unlikely to work. They are designed to target individual offenders. Instead, crime is best managed through the manipulation of the environment where crimes occur. To this day, however, most policies that aim to reduce crime.
I want to shop at Target. What does Target as a shop look like? I think I've been there. Have I been there? There's also a restaurant. Isn't Lando Lakes or Lutz that I want to try?
Focus on punishing people rather than improving places.
What else? Is it a super Target?
The president has called for a national
bagels and Einstein bagel. Cream cheese.
We invest little in housing and far less.
I want to read at the John F. Germany
sidewalks in neighborhoods like
library next week. I mixed jinxing with Jack. That's why I'm like, I'm ready to give up having more.
Which draw people into the public.
I'm now jinxing with these in pleasant conversations and they're loving it. They're like, jinx. Let's head over to the library together. They could be reading my mind though. What else? I won't be doing any killing in self-defense while Jaden Kilonier with me. Unless I'm attacked by one of those leeches that has stolen from me and gets in the way when you're saving money. It stays in my homes without my permission. And drives my vehicles without my permission. I could have a vintage 19. What else?
Community and street level conditions in the places most likely.
Just hate me. They're like, ew, she's in love with me for. They could want to kill me for that.
Crime and violence are in short supply.
What else? I don't ever go near them. What else?
Potentially dangerous people.
What
rather
else?
than on demonstrably dangerous places.
What? People in love don't love themselves are creepy. after a while living in Puerto Rico, I stopped hearing dead bodies.
And a growing body of scientific research.
Was he alive back then?
Best
Like, wow, there's a murderer here that I run into occasionally for.
in the 19th century.
So, dude, I don't want to run into you. But thanks for telling me that you're going to be there. Now I can't even take myself there to find people to date and network with. Because I don't want to get raped, I don't want to get stalked, I want to see you there. Que mamándole las tetas a alguien con el dinero que me roba y en mi vehículo que me robaste. For.
Most of this work was described.
Ew. In Colombia no había la peseta where he was going to be happier with Carolina. And he took her to Puerto Rico and moved her into my home. Qué tipo tan bruto, without letting me get my belongings. What else? 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 What
Did not
else?
attempt to provide guidance on how to
Oh, Forrest. I'm gonna kill Carolina Chavez in self-defense, and then I'm glad she reminded me of how gross she is in 2020. What else? What else?
British health scholars, most notably John Snow.
I thought maybe she's rehabilitated. No, maybe it's Nathalie when I. I'm like, maybe she's rehabilitated herself, but why is she leeching near me? What is it that she's after? Food? Me cooking for her? What else? 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 What else?
But McDonald, who's done pioneering experimental research,
What else?
is one of many contemporary environmental criminologists.
Oh, I'm trying to do what has never been done. Death penalties. Grandma, that I'm dumb, that I'm not talented, that I'm una menorita, nena chiquita, because I don't open my legs to people. Wait, I'm gonna make history by getting them all killed, like thousands of them possibly, and then I'll brag that I achieved world peace.
Criminologist George Kelly, produced in the Atlantic in 1982. According to Wilson,
What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Who says that I'm a peacekeeper? Greenpeace that doesn't believe in death when it's in self-defense. They want to typecast me and label me as so peaceful. It's like I love Berlin. It's already been offered before my birth. So as the death penalty for the people that abuse me. So they want to try to turn me into the peacekeeper, extra animal lover that wouldn't hurt anyone. Mira, con esto. Voy a matar a David Ledesma for trafficking me into homeless shelter. A ver si yo lo obligo nada más. En buses digo de look who's after my dick, mister, no puede, pero no pueden nada sin dinero. These chopped balls, I'm gonna chop David Ledesma's balls with this if he even comes near me one day. What else? What a show, gente. Yo se los dije en 2020. Esto es todo un evento. My family of origin are rapists, murderers, and thieves. So they don't respect one. They don't give money. Son la gente más maceta en este planeta. Ew. They think that they're the gift. Blech. Ew, que gente tan puerca, fo. In the meantime, I want to take myself shopping, which I think can only. What is there here to eat around here? What else? 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 Did this done? What else? What else? What else? For those of you that cry and say, well, I can't find it. It's available online, and there may be parks in store with primary colors. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Oh no! If my work trends on the DL, I use wool felt or national non-wovens for that. But if there's a need or a lot of talk of like, oh my god, it's so pretty, I don't stick on a fucking book. Every once in a while, someone brings her up, and then we're like, oh my god, pretty felt, pretty artwork. So they bring it in for people. However, there's valet parking now at the San Antonio airport, thanks to me. So I'm just not surprised. Though, thank you, Michaels, for such lovely soft felt too. Those colors are beautiful. What else? Why does the brain pick a specific person that has abused me? To fart at the thought of that person. You wanted a baby. So I fart to protect it. There's the train. It stopped. What else? My dad still laughs at how people fight over the view that I had while growing up. It's a mountain and then the beach on the horizon. So pretty. And I'm like, whatever, I wasn't exiled by my siblings are so gross. I think they exiled me from my parents' home. I just don't want to be near them. So my dad says that I always show gratitude and that I find beauty in everything. I've seen pictures also, not only of like homes that are like mismatched. Oh, and I look though based on so many pictures that I've seen or places that I've been at. If I didn't disclose that I'm in San Antonio, Texas, this view could be from many places in the planet. What else? Psychologically speaking, to my amnesia and my poverty, he turned me into a bitch. That promotes gratitude and wellness. I fixed this appointment for myself after I received an opportunity for an apartment for my one. I'm not happy here. I'm home for myself to get money, so I'm gonna ship everyone. That steals my money, gets in the way of my receiving money. Say my homes without my permission, trying to beat me and be like, oh, I'm there! Because they say, Dios, a mí no tanto me pasa. robando la línea. Mi hija fue otra cosa robando la línea, and then I just walked into her. Oh, those people would get mad at me. They're like, we don't help you financially because you want to like get people to get along. And I'm fed up with my kid, Arlene. I don't know about you when you have kids, they sound perfect. I try to say that you did, you plan to do with your kids. Porque tiene que take them out before you is sexual. You know, I got ungrateful kids. So I walk into parties now. And I say, I'm here with this ungrateful bitch.
Do it as a lark.
When introducing my child to people, privately those ungrateful bitches, ew, que me roban, ew, que hacen embarrass their parents, want to force my children to mistreat me just to be like, they live for salió a mí. Ew. They want to compare Jaden Kelani to them. Conversation, be like,
was descriptive and offered theories, writes the University of Pennsylvania criminologist John McDonald, but did not attempt to provide guidance on how to curb crime. He compares this tradition unfavorably with the work of British health staff, most notably John Snow, whose research on cholera noted the importance of the spatial shaking human health and suggested the separation of sewers and drinking water wells to prevent waterborne diseases. Reducing crime is more difficult than preventing cholera, but McDonald, who's been pioneering experimental research on how places influence crime rates, is one of many contemporary environmental criminologists with something new to offer. A social scientist has long played a major role in shaping crime policy. Consider the broken windows theory, which the Harvard political scientist James Q. Wilson and the Rutgers criminologist George Kelly introduced in The Atlantic in 1982. According to Wilson and Kelly, criminals perceive broken windows and other forms of neighborhood order as signals of weak social control and, in turn, as evidence that crimes committed there are unlikely to be checked. Though it is not inevitable, they argue, it is more likely that here, rather than in places where people are confident they can regulate public behavior by informal controls, drugs will change hands, prostitutes will solicit, cars will be stolen, the drunks will be robbed by ways to do it as a lark, and the prostitutes' customers will be robbed by men who do it purposefully and perhaps violently. That muggings will occur. Broken Windows is not only one of the most cited articles in the history of criminology, it's also one of the most sometimes referred to as the Bible releasing
who raised them?
Since 1982, cities throughout the world have used zero tolerance policing,
Jealous of
where
the
officers
universal
carefully monitor petty crimes such as repeat
they were from love.
public intoxication and handling, and courts severely punish those convicted of committing them. If you take care of criminal
Great windows over. You shall see you in jail, and you'll be like, okay.
places, but also external consulting work. In practice, this meant stopping, frisking, and arresting more people, particularly those who live in high. It also meant a spike in reports that police were unfairly targeting minorities, particularly black men.
I'm gonna be the first person that comes over to
Broken windows always
sex
work better
ever
as an idea than as a work of empirical science. As the Columbia University broken windows theory has never been verified. The existing social scientific data suggests that the theory is probably not right. The problems, which include the fact that perception neighborhood, and with the amount of broken windows or graffiti are numerous and well documented.
I want to be from the earth.
A list of renowned scholars, including the Harvard sociologist Robert Sampson, the University of Chicago sociologist Stephen Round Bush, and the Berkeley criminologist Franklin Zimring, have identified flaws at all levels of the broken windows argument and with the policies it inspired. For present purposes, though, I'm less into the broken windows theory than what's encourage policymakers to crack down on the petty crimes that lead to things like broken windows, and more aggressive street-level policing. Had they been more interested in the influence of social infrastructure, however, they might have taken another tack. Consider the famous scenario in which the authors propose how spirals of disorder and decay get started. A piece of property is abandoned, weeds grow up, a window is smashed, they write. Adults stop scolding rowdy children. The children emboldened to become more rowdy. Families move out. Unattached adults move in. Teenagers gather in front of the corner store. The merchant asks them to move. They refuse. Fights occur. Litter accumulates. People start drinking in front of the grocery. In time, an inebriate slumps the sidewalk and is allowed to sleep it off. Pedestrians are approached by panhandlers. From there, it gets worse. What's curious, I think, is that the first two steps of this vicious cycle, a piece of property is abandoned, weeds grow up, have disappeared in the public debate about why some neighborhoods have such high crime rates. The third step,
Those teachers are arguing me all the time that it's dangerous for me to do a needle on my bed because my baby.
Scholars have long been concerned about the security risks posed by abandoned
So you left a needle on your bed while your baby was there?
policy debates
I'm
about
hoping that's here, right? You guys think that? That sounds like Richie Hill, Cyrus Baker, they really smart, or not people condition and people want to go with it. They already have someone that they can be yeah. Okay, but will people say they don't let it grow? That people want them to be?
Dangerous properties, rather than stopping and frisking suspected people. This is not a rhetorical question. It's a puzzle that drove John McDonald, the pen criminologist, and his collaborator, the epidemiologist Charles Brannis, to start one of the most exciting research experiments in contemporary social science. Brannis, who's now the chair of epidemiology at Columbia University, is a leading scholar of gun violence, a topic he got to know viscerally while working as an paramedic. Brannis often found himself responding to calls for victims of gunshot wounds. On a typical day, more than 90 Americans die from gun violence, and 200 more are injured. And although gun violence has decreased dramatically in recent decades, it remains far higher in the United States and in other affluent nations. The U.S. gun homicide rate is about 25 times greater than the average among other high-income
That's
societies.
because my family of origin are
Some mid-sized, New Orleans, St. Louis, Buffalo, Denver, Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago. And within these cities, it's especially high in very specific places, not just neighborhoods, but blocks. Brannis and McDonald wanted to understand why certain places were so dangerous. Unusual for epidemiologists and criminologists to collaborate. Brannis and McDonald met in the 2000s when they were working at the University of Pennsylvania. First, in a seminar on gun violence at the medical school's trauma center.
To see if you do the right thing and stop listening.
On mixed grounds. Both were frustrated
That's
by the
why you
science
go back for
of
minutes.
the neighborhood disorder. lot of it from broken windows on was just descriptive.
What else?
You didn't know exactly what counted as disorder, and it was actually.
You're gonna get the girl back to steal her favorite shrimp. That will get her attention.
Only Brooks read an article in Science based on experimental research done by Keith
some
Tyson.
people never
These researchers somehow got a notion of creating disorder in certain neighborhoods. They actually added graffiti and litter to some places and not others, and they could measure the effects. The paper showed a strong relationship between disorder and instability. Some, though by no means full, validation for the broken windows theory.
I got to Michael's then more.
They knew that no institutional review board or community organization
ilegalmente en su casa. And they're like, oh, I gotta bring a Michael's. It's her favorite film.
Brandis was invited to discuss his research on guns and alcohol at a conference sponsored by the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. During his presentation, he briefly mentioned his first physical factors.
Do they head over to Michael's and say, Dad!
Philadelphia had passed an ordinance that required owners of abandoned buildings to install front doors and windows, but there were thousands of buildings in compliance and tens of thousands of empty lots that were violating the anti-blight. Horticultural Society Brass and McDonald were excited about the idea. There is, after all, an established literature showing the relationship between abandoned properties and crime. In 1993, the criminologist William Spellman published a paper showing that, in Austin, Texas, crime rates on blocks with open abandoned buildings were twice as high as rates on matched blocks without open buildings. And in 2005, the sociologist Lance Hannon showed that the number of abandoned houses in a given census tract was correlated with homicide levels in New York City's high poverty and extreme poverty areas. Brandis, who didn't lead on the project, invited more scientists to join him. A health economist, a professor in the Department of Emergency Medicine, and a medical anthropologist. There was an enormous amount of data to collect and analyze. The team's first major research project involved assessing the impact of two natural experiments in Philadelphia. In one, the Penn Group examined violent crime around 2,356 abandoned buildings.
Does favorite of this my getting group chats with people say she's so fake, meaning she never told me anything. As a book club of beaches that are right each other. And anyone that doesn't tell them about them reading books.
The team did something similar in the second project, which compared violent crime around vacant lots. There were 49,690 abandoned parcels of open land with no buildings on them. VHS remediated 4,436 of them, which meant they had cleared trash and debris, planted grass and trees to create a park setting, and installed low and rail fences with walk-in openings to facilitate recreational use. Compare the tree size.
What else? I'm so bored.
Randomly selected, geographically matched properties. In this study, they measured crime annually over a whole decade. From 1999 to 2008.
I don't know if I cater, I pretend that.
I visited Philadelphia.
Where is that? especially with the city. I know she caterings it. Two people when it comes to legal. They're so embarrassing, those people that are your firm. Yeah.
And told me that we'd begin by driving to West Philadelphia, where PHS maintained square feet of vacant land.
What? I'm about to hit.
Grew up in a part of Philadelphia that's so gray they called it the concrete city. Started working at PHS 21 years ago. First as an intern, and then on community garden projects. I never thought I'd be doing this for so long, he told me. But I found my niche when we started fixing up abandoned property. I remember one of the first jobs. The city asked us to clean up a 2-block area in North Philadelphia where there was a flea infestation. We got there and it was like the entire area turned into a jungle. Weeds, tall grass, messed up trees. People were using it as a dumping ground. There were junk piles, old cars, broken bottles, mattresses, just a mess. We wound up treating 125 empty lots. I'm not kidding, 125. It was a horrible job. But when we finished, you could tell that the neighborhood was going to be different. And people were so happy. I'd have kids running up to my truck yelling, Mr. Keith, can you come back tomorrow? They treated me like I was Mr. Softy. He laughed at the memory. I kept thinking, this is something we have to do all over Philadelphia. That's basically what we did. Green drove slowly up 40th Street in West Philly. You're going to want to keep your eyes open, he instructed. You won't believe what you're going to see. In fact, the area looked a lot.
Currently listening to bonuses for the people. So sure you know fighting about it. Oh, everything's in the life, civic life. Oh, I get a visit next month and they laugh about it. I did it.
The narrow street to look at her. The narrow street to look at another property. And when we got there, Loretta, an African-American woman in her late 20s who was out for some exercise, was walking briskly in our direction. I paused and asked her if she lived here. No, she replied, but I walk around in this neighborhood all the time. Have you noticed all the little parks with small fences? I inquired. Not really. She looked around.
You're like, I messages every day, so we're not going to be fighting with her over your feet. I'm going to be married to an actual man on this side.
Why do you think I'm walking on the other side of the street?
No.
She paused for a beat, then looked over at the lot and started explaining. Those places are scary. You don't know what's going on in that mess. Who's around? There's a lot of places like that around here, and I just try to keep away. Loretta returned to her exercise, and Green and I headed up the road again before turning onto Westminster Street. He pointed to a large remediated lot that residents had converted into a community park with picnic tables and a small garden. The guy who owns the store a few blocks away helped fix up this block, Green explained. He just wanted the neighborhood to look nice, to get more people out on the sidewalks and gardens. We see a lot of that. If we maintain things, residents go a little further and put in what they like. We crossed over to a set of 3 rows
decades ago.
houses that had pocket parks, one large, one small, on either side. Mickey, who had gray hair, sunglasses, a wooden cane,
According to
and a few
themselves.
missing teeth,
Yeah.
was sitting on a picnic table.
If I ever tell you,
when he saw me approach.
Right there.
I asked if he came to the park with him.
Oh, I'm trying to avoid them.
Responded. "It's a
Me getting
popular
pissed
place.
off at them and
The
me
Muslims
killing
had
them.
an event this past weekend. There was a health fair not long ago too. I'm 73 years old and I walk around here every day. This is a nice spot to stop.
People say it's not fair, but they're still stealing money.
Oh, we know it does, Mickey replied.
Doesn't look
Point to
behind
the
me
doors
to
of the
know
row house
about it.
next door, where Joyce was nodding.
Carolina,
I've been staying here 10, 12 years now.
so nearby the
Those lots were bad when I first got here. Drugs and all that. Kids at the time.
for a
People
while.
would let their dogs run all around them too, and
They're not a
can it
priority
smell?
to me ever.
She grimaced and shivered a
Neither
little
is
from the memory.
exposing them.
But they fixed it up pretty soon after I got
People that show
tables and
up
big
to
umbrellas
places
too.
that I show up
Kids
to
started
get
coming
food if
around.
I don't have money.
Going. Before, everybody would avoid this block. It was ugly and dangerous because you didn't know who was going to jump out of those bushes. Now it's a lot better. We've got the park, we've got shit.
You can decapitate Brittany Akerson for trying to rape me, for trafficking me into poverty, for stealing my vehicle, for stealing my money.
His colleagues at the Horticultural Society suspected that fixing up the empty lots and buildings was improving Philadelphia's poor neighborhoods. But they weren't certain. Brannis and McDonald had a more specific hypothesis. They thought that remediation would reduce gun-related crime around them. It's not simply they are signs of disorder.
I purposely avoid talking to people so I don't have to hear. In the meantime, this is my situation since 2016. I've been starving without money for food for more than 9 years. What else? What else? Spam or not spam? Ew. So you can give me money in person through PayPal. Through my GoFundMe campaign. What else? My own Diana. What else? This account keeps popping up on my Facebook account. Josh becomes. What else? How many times did I post this morning? Oh, I need to talk to FBI in this. That I'm seeking the death penalty for those that have starved me on purpose, which could be stop a haven for hope. That I hope I don't have to see next month. I want to have a home for myself, dating Kehlani. That's my priority. What else? This is so slow. You can give me money in person through PayPal. What else?
Disorder, Brannis told me, is that the places themselves create opportunities for gun violence. They take what might just be a poor neighborhood and make it poor and dangerous. The reasons are straightforward. Abandoned houses are good places for people involved in criminal activities to hide when they are on the run. There are also good places to store firearms. Untended empty lots are notoriously good places for drug dealing, in part because most law-abiding residents, and in part because dealers can hide their products in the weeds and tall grass if the police drive by. For communities and for the police, they are hard places to monitor and control. But compelling theories, as critics of broken windows know all too well, are often betrayed by evidence that discredits them. That's why Brennis was so surprised by the dramatic findings from their first experimental study on blighted environments and violence. There was a 39% reduction in gun violence in and around abandoned buildings that had been remediated.
Anyways, I'm being offered a job in LA, so I need money.
There was a smaller but still meaningful 5% reduction in gun violence in and around vacant lots that had been remediated as well. These are extraordinary numbers at a level of impact one rarely sees in a social science experiment. But they weren't the only ones that impressed Brennis and his team. Equally powerful, he said, shifted to nearby places. The declines were real. Moreover, these reductions lasted from 1 to nearly 4 years, making the benefit far more sustainable than reduction programs. Honestly, he confessed, it was a big effect than we'd...
What else? You can pay everyone that gets in the way of me receiving money. Steals my money, gets in, stays in my home without my permission, drives my vehicles without my permission. What?
But they weren't the only ones that impressed Brennis dealing. It's not simply that they are signs of disorder, Brennis told me. It's that the places themselves create opportunities for gun violence.
Ya lo casaron hoy,
They
ya
take
le
what might just be a
dijeron,
poor
¿te gusta mi
neighborhood and make
prima?
it poor and dangerous.
Arlene no está
The reasons are
disponible,
straightforward.
ya pueden meter dedo a la
Abandoned
madre.
houses are good places for people
Mi
involved in
sobrina
criminal activities to hide when they are
está
on
aquí
the run.
para ti si
They're also
quieres.
good places to store firearms. Untended empty lots are notoriously good places for drug dealing, in part because most law-abiding residents avoid them, and in part because dealers can hide their products in the weeds and tall grass if the police drive by. For communities and for the police, they are hard places to monitor and control. But compelling theories, as critics of broken windows know all too well, are often betrayed by evidence that discredits them. That's why Brennis was so surprised by the dramatic findings from their first experimental study on blighted environments and violence. There was a 39% reduction in gun violence in and around abandoned buildings that had been remediated. There was a smaller but still meaningful 5% reduction in gun violence in and around vacant lots that had been remediated as well. These are extraordinary numbers at a level of impact one rarely sees in a social science experiment. But they weren't the only ones that impressed Brennis and his team. Equally powerful, he said, is that there was no evidence that the violence had simply shifted to nearby places. The declines were real. Moreover, these reductions lasted from 1 to nearly 4 years, making the benefit far more sustainable than those in other crime reduction programs. Honestly, he confessed, it was a bigger effect than we'd.
There's a science of cleaning. What else? I hope I have a home when Elliot need to visit the movie theater or get porque casino. I'm gonna kill people in self-defense regardless when I'm financially stable. Oh no, I posted this picture twice. It's so weird. It's so weird. So bored. Should I fix this now? But stuff. These are so good. Cute. So relatable to put her like a mother. Love people use things. Make a mama, yes, también. Se quedó en mi casa sin mi permiso, so Sarah Wilson was basically introducing me to people. And she trafficked into my home without my permission. Possibly. Esa diva una puerca tried to traffic me into a secretary position that I declined. I'm not even Latina, but do you know that most Latinas that suffer, it's not because they didn't have a grandma, it's due to inadequate people around her that are sex addicts, rapists, and murderers that try to traffic one into raping one. Ew. I'm not even Latina. Oh, that's the outrage. I'm not even Latina. And they're trying to create a storyline from me de que me encuentro un novio, me matan mi apartamento porque no tengo dinero ni comida. Wow, yo tengo bóvedas en mi casa con ellos. Yeah! They don't understand that that's public knowledge. When that lacra, Elizabeth Munoz, has wine night with her girl. They sit down, they're like, have you seen her home? Have you seen her closet? Have you been in her vehicles? How is he? Oh my God! What else does Arlene have? And they think que yo me voy a enamorar de alguien sin yo tener dinero para comida y ese tipo me va a matar to get rid of me. I want my Chanel purses back. I want my BMWs back. All the other vehicles that I have with them that are in my name. I want my homes back. Sin dejar los homeless hambrientos. Aburrido. Da un asco io che decapita i dos leeches. Ew. Ew, 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 ew. Ew, have you heard those? They think they're friends. They're just illegal prostitutes that shouldn't exist. Gauging what people have and how people behave and worshiping the woman that has it all but doesn't have it with her. Ew. Ew, 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 ew.
Place-based changes that can be scaled to entire cities and that are relatively straightforward to sustain. He'd failed to do this earlier in his career, he acknowledged, when he was doing more conventional anti-violence research and advocacy, the kind that focused on the people who are most likely to commit crimes. I'm in Philadelphia. We had the interrupters, the social workers, the community leaders. Some of them were amazing, and we had some successes, but they were always short-lived. They lasted only as long as we could keep the people there in the hood. We spent a considerable amount of money on that project, and in the end, it wound up helping only, about 50 kids, just the ones who were there at the time. We wanted to have a bigger impact, one that would continue even after we left. The Philadelphia studies suggest that place-based interventions are far more likely to succeed than people-based projects. Tens of millions of vacant and abandoned properties exist in the United States, writes Brandison's team. Remediation programs make structural improvements to the very context within which city residents are exposed on a daily basis. They are simple, cheap, and easily reproducible, so they can be implemented on a large scale. What's more, they impose few demands on local residents, and the programs appear to pay for themselves. Simple treatments of abandoned buildings and vacant lots returned conservative estimates of between $5 and $26 in taxpayers, and between $79 and $3 to society at large for every dollar invested. Their paper in the American Journal of Public Health reports. It's not only more dangerous to leave the properties untended, it's also more expensive. That's why, once Brandis began publishing and presenting his findings on the impact of fixing up abandoned properties, cities and universities throughout the United States were eager to enroll in the experiment. In the last few years, we've had people here from so many cities, Keith Green told me. Detroit, Chicago, Trenton, and Seoul. When the guy from Chicago was here, he kept saying,
when they
I don't know why we don't do this there. By 2016, the team had raised millions of dollars in federal grants.
It bothers some people to be investors laughing at me. If also we will find someone that grew up with an Ottoman already by the age of 3 and be like, I'm just here with my friend Madonna. I got an Ottoman since birth. Yearly, no. Decades ago. I'm so bored.
And launched blight remediation projects in New Orleans, Louisiana, Newark and Camden, New Jersey, Flint, Michigan, and Youngstown, Ohio. Each experiment included local academic partners and, at Brannis's insistence, the frontline researchers were community residents who were trained and paid for their contributions. We're proud that we've been able to employ people in these neighborhoods, Brandis said, but the bigger, more sustainable effect will come from fixing places. Policing will always be a key component of crime reduction, and there's no question that some policing strategies are better and more humane than others. But in recent years, some policies in some of the world's most dangerous cities, including Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, and Johannesburg, have yielded declines in violent crime. In some cases, they've improved the quality of everyday life too. In Sao Paulo, for instance, the local government has supplemented policing programs with policies that reduce opportunities for crime in specific hotspots, while incentivizing young people to safe places.
Possibly some people visit to see who you can see there.
Observed that the presence of bars and liquor stores
I stopped visiting after we could find that leech there. Matándome porque sea vegetariana y hartándose de pinche con mi dinero que me roban.
Not only because it generates more crime,
What else?
but also because it fails to reduce overall consumption.
What else?
And shifts consumption to more dangerous substances.
What else?
But there's good evidence that reducing the hours when bars and liquor stores operate helps. Between 2001 and 2004, for instance, 16 of the 39 Sao Paulo municipalities implemented a dry law, which forced bars and liquor stores to close between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. When the Brazilian economist Ciro Bitterman examined the impact on violent behavior, he discovered that the dry laws caused a 10% reduction in homicides and had similar effect on battery and deaths by car accidents. Although the restrictions were suspended after the crime rate began to drop, they showed that subtly tweaking the social environment can dramatically increase safety. While one of Sao Paulo's crime-fighting techniques involved reducing access to dangerous places, another aimed to increase access to a cherished safe spot that generates multiple benefits for children and communities. Schools.
Yeah.
Government had good reason to focus on the one place where young people have regular interactions with responsible adults. According to a World Bank report on crime prevention in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, among those crimes for which the age of the suspected offender is known, between 20 and 25% of robberies, thefts, and motor vehicle crimes are committed by individuals under the age of 18.
Those leeches is still couldn't drive.
Extensive programming for children. Drawing on models from Mexico and Colombia, the government also started CCT Bolsa Familia, a policy that offered modest but meaningful cash transfers to poor families on the condition that their children complete secondary schools. Both programs, the World Bank claims, made important contributions to Sao Paulo's crime. Not all environmental designs to reduce crime produce widespread benefits. Consider the gated community, an architectural form that has emerged throughout the world to assuage anxieties about crime and violence, and which some critics see as an extreme expression of CCT's underlying principles. After all, gated communities facilitate local control of shared territory and establish clear lines between public and private space. They sponsor and, through signage, call attention to active surveillance by security guards and cameras. Normal social interaction among residents that allows for eyes. They maintain all public areas, which sends a clear signal that residents monitor and care about the physical environment. Wherever possible, they reduce opportunities for crime. In City of Walls, the Berkeley anthropologist and urban planning scholar Teresa Caldera documents the fortification of urban space in Sao Paulo during the 1980s and 1990s. In the last 2 decades, in cities as distinct as Sao Paulo, Buenos Aires,
he pitches for that show all the time and stars me. So is he thinks there, here's our sign. Whoever asks money for a sign with Arlene, here's our sign.
Exclusion.
There's
Their withdrawal from traditional quarters of
ew.
cities, she writes. Caldera attributes the rise in gated communities and private security not only to high crime, but also to anxieties about the end of military governance and emerging democratic politics in an unequal society. She calls attention to the pervasive talk of crime, which simplistically divides the world into good and evil and criminalizes certain social categories, while also legitimating the use of gates and private security to ensure isolation and closure.
You're gonna beat me up because I won't read Arlene Lorenzo's book, so I'm starving.
Caldera grants that these systems protect those who can afford them.
Ya fue la cárcel por eso.
Quite rightly, they weaken democracy, deepen social divisions.
What else? How else am I gonna validate her as a woman of God that does everything right if I don't read her books and
The rise of gated communities in South Africa. Some,
esos liches maman pelo infectado posiblemente fue. So those jeans and the sexuales dan un asco.
forms of social exclusion.
You can decapitate me, I mean, systems that rape me, so my money and the way I receive money.
Distinct
You
kinds
can decapitate me, and the sexuales de una basura.
close to neighborhoods
She already
where white
drank my first coffee with him for me.
fences,
Ya se quedó en mi cama durmiendo tan puerca en all of my homes with them.
which were larger places with mixed-use facilities, including office parks.
Son una basura, una asquerosidad, no respetan. Ew.
Landman
I don't
reports that
ever want
both
them in
groups
my
of
life.
gated communities successfully maintained low crime levels inside their protected environments. But the segregated social infrastructures they supported created countless other problems and directly undermined the urban project of rebuilding democratic order in post-apartheid South Africa. Many people object to a restriction of access to public roads, prohibited by the South African Constitution, she observes. Moreover, the question of access often leads to resentment, particularly among city dwellers who had previously been able to visit or travel through the enclosed neighborhoods without scrutiny. Landman does not explicitly condemn gated communities, but there's no question about the message written between the lines. She's essentially saying that in South Africa, fear of crime is doing the work that fear of blacks did during apartheid, justifying the creation of an unequal society sustained by segregated social infrastructure, in which one group can take extra legal measures to protect itself, and the others can only fume. Intriguingly, there is at least one well-documented case of an impoverished, crime-ridden community taking control of their own territory and using unauthorized security devices to monitor violence perpetrated against them by police. But their low status and lack of political power made the project short-lived. In 2001, while the University of Texas anthropologist Joel Costa Vargas was conducting field work in Rio de Janeiro, a neighborhood association in the city's second-largest favela, Teresino, installed large gates and cameras at several access points. On a popular political website, leaders of the association demanded their right to more and better social programs focusing on health, education, and job training, and public transportation. In short, they demanded full citizenship, Vargas writes. Gating themselves into a protected community was a political...
You can compensate by having certain systems that rape me, selling my money, and getting the way I may receive money. Hill. Juan Manuel de... It's what? February 27, 2025. Michael Ramos raped me in 2016. Juan Manuel Delis raped me in 2017. David Ledesma raped me in 2017, 18, 19, and 20. He tried to turn me into a sex slave, asking me to record myself having sex with him and selling the content as a way to sustain myself. He's already aware that I have a GoFundMe campaign. People under the poverty level shouldn't ever been taken as prisoners. To be asked if one wants to have sex with them and record them. He tried to turn me into his sex slave. Ew, I'm gonna chop off his dick one day if I even see him near me. 5 people are watching if I have liked this post. You can decapitate Gloria Nilsa Acevedo, Cordero, Ramón Lorenzo, Evelyn Ibel Lorenzo Acevedo, Marilyn Lorenzo Acevedo, Julio Lorenzo Acevedo, María Andrés Lorenzo Avilés, María Andrea Avilés Lorenzo, and Jodiel Lorenzo Chaparro, de for me getting the way of my finances so that I get raped. Ew, qué gente tan puerca. You can decapitate everyone. What is an autocrat? What? I googled that. I love, like, I know the meaning already, but it's like all the languages that I have in the back of my head and I don't practice. Though my French is coming out. Oh, it's not gonna be embarrassing. Am I just gonna start speaking different languages on camera without first remembering what I'm saying? I don't want to do that. Ew. I read something in Chinese the other day. I'm like, I know what that means. I just can't remember. So one day I'm possibly gonna be walking or doing an activity and thinking like, oh, I remember reading that. What else? If you don't practice that often, it goes towards the back of your head. People say, but it's there. What else? What else? I've been asked before if I identify with being an autocrat, and I was like, I giggle. What else? What else? I haven't been explained my power and also the lack of support in people like me around me. What do you mean when I've heard people? That's what I thought, but like people while I was growing up read my body language. They're like, don't worry, you're not like alone in this world. You don't have me because we don't have anything in common, or like that's not normal either. Like just spending time with other people. Based on your demeanor, you're possibly gonna produce that out of your vagina one day. People that are very much respectful. What else? And it's so exciting to see. I witnessed some of my cousins go through that when I was growing up. Some relatives that they're like, my kid said he's Puerto Rican. My kid said she's Puerto Rican. Van a Puerto Rico todos los años as if it is my home base. without me making a big deal other than, okay, I'm taking you to Miss on sandwiches. I'm taking you to a beach. What else? What else? What else? What else? So bored. Take a nap soon. Just for the fun that I love taking and sleeping. What else? What else? What else? I'm sharing this more times. Those people that I grew up around are so girls trying to make me fall. Ew. So this is the podcast. Listen to. Not right now. I'm on my bed for a little bit before I fall asleep. I'm doing good, honey. Parts to this chapter. There is, or how many chapters there are. And I also am listening to this all around me. Though I'm not from. I've been around people that have to speak like that, and I know they exist. I've seen interviews, so there may be like some people that want credit, and I can't give, but I've seen in the news because I used to watch NBC in Puerto Rico, and that they're like, we just speak Sassy here in Chicago. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm so bored. Anyways, I'm excited about listening to this too. The greatest cover of history. What else? What else? What else? What else? Social, what is that? Autopsy. Social autopsy. Literally. They killed thousands and millions of people so that my death goes unnoticed. What else? What else? What else? What else? In ice cream? And people are slow, so people are like, not until you expose who is it that abuses you and your parents. I imagine. It would have been funnier, I know, but I wasn't ready because they were attacking me verbally. And I was already speech impaired. And I wanted to lose any money from living with me. So it would have been funner if as Carolina Chavez was verbally abusing me, I would tag the FBI immediately and say, I'm seeking the death penalty but that's how one is unprepared and one doesn't expect to be that gross publicly. So I thought that they were rehabilitated or at least able to hide that they're trying to kill me and rape me, and that they steal from me still, and that they stay in my homes without my permission, and that they drive my vehicles without my permission. So had I been prepared and thinking, well, they're still bad guys, I would have had that write-up of dear FBI, I'm seeking the death penalty for this person in every single post until they would go away. What else? 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 Not quite. It's just using the resources that have already been implemented. It's like Teen Vogue has existed for decades already. So has the UN. So don't forget to shop at Target, I said earlier, or HEB if you're in Texas and that's what you wish to do. So I said earlier that I want a Chanel dress. From the perspective of not everyone wants to remind people what it's obvious and it's respect. So not every influencer out there wants to say this because then they won't be considered sexy. It's like, come on, like, please take on some of the load from me if you can, if you're doing it out of ignorance, because it gets so much that I won't ever find out Marilyn Monroe. I wasn't even alive when I was born. Like, if I have to hear one more time about this bitch, how desirable she is even after death. My parents are like, we have a solution to that. We don't want your name out there, ever. Porque qué gente ridícula desiring someone que is already dead. Thanks for bringing it up. Because I brought it up to their attention. I'm like, I don't want to be that person that at my death, people are like, man, I wish I would have been with Marilyn Monroe. Or that I would have been alive to meet her. What else? 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 Anyways, no one knows que tengo hambre. No one knows que no tengo dinero. No one knows. No one knows. What else? What else? What else? What else? And I have such problem. In here, paper towels now. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I don't want coffee every day. I have money for food. My cheeks get red when I see that picture of that guy that I took yesterday. So I'm not gonna keep scrolling. Very pretty guy that I saw at Target. However, I've seen him before, and he could be a minor. What else? What else? What else? That's why I took a picture of him, because I'm like, I've seen him already, and it was awkward. Telepathy exists. I'm like, I'm trying to not think about his dick, and he's like, banana, banana. I was so embarrassed when they went back to sit near me. And he said, we're back. What else? 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 I'm so bored. I'm being patient. There's like a lot of gaslighting behind the scenes over my vagina. do they open group chats of shit? And they lie to people. They're like, who is here? El CEO de aquí, el CEO de allá. So that's the Marilyn Monroe effect, people say. They go on to create group chats of people that they think could be interested in me, but that's because someone, ¿a quién añado? ¿A quién añado? ¿Quién tú crees? ¿Quién tú crees? ¿Cuál le gustará a ella? No, ¿cuál de ellos le gustará a ella? Pero a ella no le gusta porque así ella es miserable. So that's what they do possibly behind the scenes. What else? And then they go on, guys, sorry, she's taken with me. Except they have no conversations with me in the past 4 years other than this leech, like saying, really? But if one even says good morning to them, they may be faking those conversations. It's so gross. However, if I had my 2 children separated from me while under the poverty level, hungry, without anything to do, what they plan, based on what I witnessed decades ago, these leeches, is to pretend that they're my friend and then take screenshots of what I talked to them about, whether it's good morning or not, if they have taken me hostage that way. And show it to those men of interest to them and be like, ¿qué tú crees? Con este good morning, tú me puedes sacar una cita. So they try to make themselves desirable through someone else. They pimp themselves. It's so gross. It's so gross. You can decapitate everyone that's caused my anxiety, my depression, my starvation, my poverty. That's not to can only to be separated from me. What else? I'm listening to this and charging my phone. Needles and thread and scissors, and back from my bed taking a nap. I love daytime sleeping, and then I'll be back in a few hours. What I plan to cook for myself. Rice to eat it with an avocado. I have spinach artichoke dip and crackers. What else do I have? I have bread that I can eat with peanut butter and a banana later. Because I didn't buy the ingredients for soup. I looked for plantains at Target, however, I didn't find any. What else? That doesn't mean that Target is racist. They want to make me sound dumb. These leeches. It's like, wasn't she a racist one? That's why we're doing this. Ew, they can't violate rights of people over plantains. They know that. They attended school. My parents are so inadequate. Ew, instead of providing for me. Self-care, they're like, you're gonna stay in school until you're 18. So that you get to know these people. Where did it go? That are starting to get too close to those machos that are in yours. Fame seekers, blah, 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 para que los maten en self-defense tú misma. O el FBI one day. What else?